Okay, third graders, it's time to learn about bridges, types of bridges, and how they work. So the first type of bridge we're going to learn about is called the beam bridge. Now the beam bridge, pretty simple. It looks like this. It's got a roadway, which is called the beam, sometimes called the deck, and it's got some supports, some things that hold the beam up. They might be called piers, they might just be called supports, but their job is simply to hold the beam up. Now, what goes over bridges? Well, people, cars, trucks. Basically, anything that goes on a bridge is called the load. Okay, so here, this snazzy car is called the load. Now, when a load is on a bridge, it creates other forces on a bridge. Basically, two main forces. Those two forces are compression, which is a pushing force, pushing together, compression, and tension, which is a pulling force. So let's take a look at this beam bridge diagram here. Here's the bridge. Now, as you see here, the green, let me point to something. Let me get a little arrow here. There you go, green crayon. The green shows compression. So when the load is on the bridge, there's pushing on the top, and on the bottom there's pulling. You know, it might be better to look at this second diagram here. Let's take a look at this. When this car drives onto this beam bridge, what does it do? Well, it creates some compression. You see the top might push a little bit, probably not that much on a real bridge, but this is just to show you that the top of the beam is in compression. There's a pushing down on the beam. And the bottom, what happens when the top presses down? The bottom stretches out, and that's in tension. So every bridge handles tension and compression differently. And this is how a beam bridge handles tension and compression. It presses down, and this compression is carried onto the supports here. It's carried down here through the supports. Okay, very, very simple. Let's take a look at a couple of different types of beam bridges or examples. So this is a typical beam bridge that you might see. It has a couple of more than two supports, all right? And here's a beam bridge. It's simply, some wood nailed together, put over a little gully. But it's got this deck, and actually here it's just being supported on the banks of the little gully. And here's a pretty impressive beam bridge, which is very high up. This is called the Europa Bridge. It's somewhere in Europe, and it sits on these very tall piers. And one other term to teach you right now. So we're going to talk a lot about something called a span. A span is a part of a bridge that's between two supports. So in this bridge here, this is a span, okay? And this is another span. It goes all the way to the next support. Let me write that down for you here. Span, right here. That's a span, okay? Let's take a look again. So this here would be a span right there. So basically, that's the beam bridge. Now, we're going to learn that sometimes a beam bridge is combined with other types of bridges. And, well, more on that to come. But bridge number one, the beam bridge. Okay. And over and out till our next exciting installment of types of bridges and how they work.